Now, let's catch up with Warren Mundine. I want to talk to him about some of these issues, but also some Indigenous issues. Good to talk to you again, Warren. We'll come to the border closures in just a moment. But first up, in the Indigenous world, we've heard from the Indigenous Affairs Minister, Ken Wyatt, that he is looking at buying the copyright so that the country, if you like, will own the copyright to the Indigenous flag. Are you happy with that sort of outcome?
Yeah, well, yes, I am. In fact, I mentioned it several times that, a way out of this, because we don't want to take the rights away from, from the Aboriginal person who designed this flag. We want him to receive his rights, receive the payments that he deserves and that. But the flag has become such a symbolic thing for Indigenous people and the wider Australian community now. And I think this is a good move, and I hope it comes out with everyone's all very happy with the result.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Negotiations are underway. The other issue I want to ask you about relates to Bruce Pascoe, of course, a controversial figure, the author of Dark Emu. He's now been appointed by Melbourne University as a Professor of Indigenous Agriculture. Your thoughts on this?
Look, I'm starting to find this is becoming a bit of a joke. I've read his book, Dark Emu, and that. I can tell you in Aboriginal culture, in my culture, I'm a Bundjalung, a Gabanga man from the north coast of New South Wales, and it's our songlines that tell us the stories about our history and about who we are and our spirituality and all that. This idea that we ran farms and had towns and that, well, it's not in our songlines. We were very proud hunter and gatherers, and there's no derogatory things about being a hunter and gatherer. In fact, it's a very proud thing to be, because we were able to live with nature and survive for thousands of years. We handled the bushfires, I think, a lot better than what the modern society does, because we lived for all that stuff. But look, I have serious doubts about his research and studies, and I just find it an interesting part that the left-wing media, not the left-wing media, the left-wing academia has picked up on this.
Yeah, same. It's a bit of a tautology, left-wing media and left-wing academia these days. Now let's get to what's happening here nationally with the lockdowns. You've had a big focus for a long while on private enterprise and the need to create jobs, especially in regional Australia. To what extent are our state premiers actually doing really unnecessary economic damage with these state border closures and lockdowns around the country?
Oh, they're doing massive damage. We just saw, just recently that we had a 7% drop in our GDP. We've got, if it wasn't for the federal government paying the bills, there'd be something like 3 or 4 million people out of work. This is a disaster for the Australian country. I just find it unbelievable. I thought we were part of one country. We're Australians. Yes, when it comes to state of origin and that, we get it. We take our partisan thing, and I know you're a very partisan Adelaide supporter. But the whole thing is about we are Australians, and we got virtually Western Australia's got its dream, which was something like 89% believe the border should be shut, and 100% believe it should be shut permanently. It's destructive. It's destroying this country. It's causing massive fights. And also, you just raised earlier with Tim Wilson about the human rights. So I just, it seems like the nickname Dictator Dan in the Socialist Republic of Victoria is becoming true. I just cannot believe how the police are handling that. They could have just rung up or went to that woman's house and talked to her and resolved the issue. No arrest. No one has to be put. Why do people have to be put in handcuffs? That's just bizarre. And also all this other nonsense that's going on. And you're right about the hypocrisy. What is the problem is the politicians have been totally hypocritical about the whole thing. We had a baby die because they couldn't get into a Queensland hospital, and the Premier, in a disgusting thing, come out and said our hospitals are for Queenslanders and New South Wales hospitals are for New South Wales people. I thought we were one country, I thought we were human beings and we looked after each other, but we sort of got into this tribalism now, and it's costing lives, it's costing jobs. I like to see what the data is on suicides and mental illness that's been happening during this whole lockdown period.
Warren, you're spot on. Australia has gone nuts. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great Father's Day on Sunday.
I certainly will. I've got to try my kids, so I hope they get some really good breakfast.
Good stuff. Warren Mundine there, and happy Father's Day to everybody out there, especially my own dad will be watching in Mount Gambier in an aged care facility. I can't get to see him because of these bloody state borders, but we'll talk to you on Sunday, Ackers.